Introduction is a short story written by Chithra Fernando. In this short story, we can see a lot of Sri Lankan nuances features through characterization and through the context as well. Let's see first of all what is the plot here. The story is actually narrated by a male character in the story, and he is Mahinda. So he reflects on the life of Lokunanda and what happens. And Mahinda is a nephew of the major female character of the story, who is referred to as Lokunanda. The story opens with Mahinda's childhood memories of Lokunanda, who lived in a village named Payagala in the southern area of Sri Lanka. Lokunanda is unmarried and she lived all alone in a large house owned by her. She's rich, and as the narrator says, she had everything she wanted. And she was also a constant guide in life. She had the constant guide in life, that was karmic law. So she always very close to religion, in other words. Mahinda relates how she observes the five precepts, and also when we think about the society, everyone in the village and all the relations respected her, honored her for her piety and generosity and her behavior. So when she was very strong and healthy, that was the story of her. And then she later on adopts a small girl, but not as a daughter. She calls her Kusuma and teaches her crocheting, household chores, but not reading and writing. Very in a skillful way, she says it's better for a girl to study this, not really reading and writing. And Lokunand even says that she would arrange a marriage for Kusuma at the right time, but she never keeps the promise. Even though this girl, Kusuma, comes as a small girl, very backward and from a poor family, she becomes quite developed throughout the years. And later on, as a young girl, she takes responsibility of the house. She's very skillful, talented, and she even has a relationship with a boy. But then Lokunanda somehow stops his saying that that's not a proper match, but she would look for something better for Kusuma. But then the boy went away with another girl, and Kusuma never had a chance for marriage. And then unmarried Kusuma continues to live with Lokunanda, following the path of Lokunanda's meritorious acts. As the narrator says, Lokunanda is pleased with Kusuma and has given Kusuma the charge of the house, because anyway there is no one around. The story develops like this. We get to know that Mahinda is unable to come all the time to see Lokunanda, not even her family members, because the mother is sick and it's a long distance. The sisters have work with their family commitments and all. But once he comes to Lokunanda's house after coming from abroad, and he sees how she has actually deteriorated health-wise. And later on, again, Mahinda comes and he observes that there's a lot of deterioration. She does not tell anything against Kusuma, but Mahinda understands that the ebony set or the furniture which was supposed to be given to him was actually sold by Kusuma because she wants to make a dining hall for the temple. Like Lokunanda has done, she also wants to do the same, but she insists that her name is put everywhere she does meritorious day. So what has happened is that what Lokunanda has done and what she expected from others can be seen from Kusuma. So her authoritative nature, her religious aspect, all that can be seen from Kusuma. So the strong woman who put down the others and control the others have again getting the results of the karmic law, because now Kusuma is doing the same to Lokunanda. And what both of them, despite being religious, that they don't understand is that greediness, because they talk about being religious and doing meritorious acts, but greediness and the great clinging to everything is never stopped. Themes and issues wise, the writer talks about piety and iniquity, religion, religious practices throughout the story. Actually, the story ends with the narrators Visit to Payagala. Lokunanda is physically paralyzed by then. Kusuma is busy running the house and doing all the meritorious acts, even selling some ebony furniture, as we have already got to know, inherited by Lokunanda and even Lokunanda's jewelry. So it's a story that shows some of the typical women around. And when we think about themes, especially piety, the story subtly reveals how people's piety is beaten by their iniquity. The author repeatedly brings in the narrator's ironical description of Lokunanda, the practical woman, to indicate Lokunanda's hypocrisy, the dual role she plays between her piousness and wickedness. In the first part of the story, Lokunanda's actions display both piety and iniquity. However, the motives behind most of her pious actions are deeply, primarily rooted in her self-centered longings. When Lokunanda is physically feeble and dominated by Kusuma in the latter part of the story, Lokunanda seems to have reduced her iniquity, receiving readers' sympathy towards her. When we think about religious practices in society, um, we can see that religious principles are blindedly practiced in the society, perhaps to suit the needs and desires of people. The story sarcastically discloses how some of those so-called meritorious acts are practiced to gain social prestige and power. For example, Lokunanda donates a loudspeaker to publicize the piety. Lokunanda puts up the best spirit mandapa to compete with another woman in the village. Punchinanda hides the truth of the mandapa to maintain some power. And to these practices reveal that even by being involved in religious acts, people try to be competitive and to hurt others. Thus, the story is a subtle critique of such blind religious practices and people's ignorance of Buddhist principles and the real truth in it. So, if you like to practice more, write an appreciation on the story, referring to the Sri Lankan context, the historical, religious, language-wise nuances it has. You can look into the plot, sense, characters, characterization, theme, messages, tone, emotions, techniques, and the judgment. And you can write an essay type question also on the following idea given. That is, comment on the way the writer brings out the themes of religion and authority, religion and authority throughout the story.